You may not see it, but it's already begun. The ancients called it the Great Awakening. Mystics spoke of a time when the veil would fall, and modern spiritual voices echo the same words, eyes wide with knowing, the matrix is crumbling. But what does that really mean? What is this veil that's been clouding our vision for millennia? What lies behind the version of reality we've been taught to believe is real? Maybe you've felt it, not with your eyes but deep in your heart, that something invisible governs this world, something that distracts, limits, seduces, a silent system that trains you to run without knowing where, to crave without knowing why. And now that system is starting to break. Masks are falling. Truth is leaking through the cracks of illusion, and those who still insist on sleeping are being shaken from within. Because the age of lies is over. The veil is falling, and with it, everything that isn't real. When we speak of the veil, we're not talking about a physical fabric. We're talking about an invisible filter between what you truly are and what you're allowed to see. An energetic field designed to keep you distracted, limited, asleep. It's embedded in culture, in habits, in education, in media, in religion. It convinces you that you're small, separate, not enough. It makes you accept empty routines, toxic relationships, jobs that slowly kill your spirit, as if that were normal. The veil is what keeps you from seeing that you're living inside an artificial system, a carefully crafted theater built to manipulate your attention and harvest your energy. So why is it falling now? Because the frequency of the planet is changing. Because more and more souls are waking up and realizing that the reality we were sold was never the full picture. The signs are everywhere. People reporting lucid dreams, powerful synchronicities, and existential crises that can no longer be ignored. The world as we knew it is dissolving. But this is not the end. It's the beginning. The end of the Matrix won't be announced on the evening news. No government will declare it official. It happens quietly, within you. Because the Matrix, contrary to what many believe, isn't just built from technology or external control. It's built from beliefs, from conditioning, from limits programmed into you since birth. When spiritual teachers say the veil is falling, they're talking about a collective and personal collapse of these inner programs. It's the moment you begin to realize that fear was taught, that impossible was imposed, that scarcity was conditioned into you, and none of it is inherently real. It only became real because you believed it. The Matrix cannot survive awareness, and that's why it's falling apart. Because never before have so many souls awakened at once, questioning, seeking, remembering. And the more you wake up, the weaker the system becomes, because it feeds off your energy, your attention, your belief, your obedience. And the moment you choose to step out, it begins to collapse. Imagine a prison you can't see, but you feel every day. A prison made of routines, bills, expectations, guilt, and fear. A prison that taught you being happy is irresponsible, that following your intuition is madness, and that seeking freedom is selfish. That's the Matrix. It's not out there, it's inside your mind, installed as inherited beliefs, generational repetition, and silent pacts with scarcity. So when spiritual voices say the veil is falling, they mean this: your ability to finally see. To see what you've been blind to for so long. To realize you're at war with yourself. That you spend your life pleasing everyone, except your soul. That you chase goals that were never yours to begin with. And deep down, there's a voice inside you screaming for freedom. But that voice was silenced for years by fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being different. But now, the veil falls. And with it, the masks. Life begins to show you who you truly are, and who you've never been. The veil wasn't created by accident, nor was it woven by innocent hands. It was methodically implanted over centuries by intelligences, some human, some not, who realized long ago the true power of an awakened human being. The veil is a multidimensional interference grid, a field of distortion designed to keep humans from perceiving their own essence, from remembering their true origin, and from realizing the sacred purpose of their existence. It began thousands of years ago, long before the civilizations we now read about in history books. It was amplified by the rise of dogmatic religion, perfected by empires, institutionalized by governments, and romanticized by cultural industries. So who benefits from this veil? Those who rule without ever being seen, those who keep humanity trapped in distraction, consumption, fear, and quiet resignation. These forces, not all of them human, don't want to destroy humanity. They want to domesticate it. The veil is the perfect prison, invisible, silent, comfortable, and worst of all, millions have grown used to living inside it, without even realizing they were ever imprisoned. The veil is not a flat sheet. It's a structure made of layers, each one carefully designed to trap human beings on every level: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. The first layer is made of social systems, conditioning, education, a media that misinforms, religions that imprison with guilt and fear, and a culture built on competition and scarcity. The second layer works in the invisible, dense energies, astral parasites, entities that feed on human suffering, keeping people stuck in repetitive cycles of pain, anger, addiction, and dependency. And the third layer is the most dangerous, the mental one. Human minds have been trained to mock the invisible, to reject the subtle, to dismiss anything that can't be touched. So, even when truth stands right in front of you, you don't see it. The true architects of the veil have no faces. They are ancient consciousnesses. They infiltrated systems of power, hid behind symbols, and now operate through institutions, corporations, even technology. They don't need to chain your body. They just need to hypnotize your mind. They don't need to extinguish your light. They just need to make sure you never turn it on. And that's why they fear the fall of the veil. Because when it falls, humanity will see, will feel, will remember, and the game will no longer be rigged. The fall of the veil doesn't start with explosions in the sky. It doesn't make headlines. It begins in silence, inside you. In the very moment someone looks inward and says, "Something's not right here, and I can't keep ignoring it." That moment, that flicker of inner rebellion, forms a crack in the veil. And that crack, it's the beginning of the collapse of everything that was built to keep you blind. You start noticing patterns. You begin to question things you once accepted as truth. You see that the world you were trained to see isn't the real world. It's a carefully designed illusion, a matrix, where everything is programmed to keep your awareness asleep, distracted, consumed. And then you start to remember, not with your mind, but with your soul. And that's where the veil begins to tremble, because the awakening of just one creates ripples that reach many. The fall of the veil isn't just a collective event. It's an individual chain reaction. Every soul that wakes up widens the crack in the collective field. Every person who refuses to be just another cog in the machine. Every mind that dares to think outside the script. Every heart that chooses to feel beyond fear. They all help dissolve this invisible prison. The veil is fragile. What keeps it intact is forgetting, ignorance, passivity. But once the memory of the soul begins to return, there is no force in this world that can stop it. Are we ready? That's the question echoing in the invisible corridors of the collective consciousness. But the answer, Hermes would say, isn't in words, it's in your frequency. And if we're being honest, most people aren't ready. Because the fall of the veil requires more than spiritual curiosity. It demands brutal courage. To deconstruct everything you once believed to be true is devastating to the ego. It feels like watching the ground vanish beneath your feet. Losing your certainties, your roles, your titles, your masks, everything that made you feel safe. Because the veil doesn't just cover the outside world, it covers who you really are. And when it falls, there's no one left to blame, no government, no religion, no system can carry the weight of your unconsciousness. Everything returns to your center. And that's where the real revolution begins, within. But take a breath, because this collapse is not punishment, it's liberation. And it happens in waves. First, you lose interest in old distractions. Then, you feel a quiet detachment. Certain people, places, or conversations just stop making sense. Next, a restlessness arises, as if something is calling you, but you don't yet know what. That's the beginning of the call to exit the matrix. But few truly answer, because leaving means letting go of control, attachment, of the illusion of safety the system gives you, in exchange for your freedom. Most people retreat. They choose the familiar prison over the unknown freedom. But those who stay, they become the pillars of a new world. And this new world won't be built with eyes. It will be built with vibration. And that's why so few will see it, even when it's standing right in front of them. Because seeing requires presence, and presence is what most lack. Are we ready? As a collective, perhaps not yet, but as souls, yes, we always have been. Because deep down we all carry the spark of truth, a tiny flame that survives even buried under layers of programming, and once that spark is touched, it ignites everything, burns the veil, burns the lies, burns the fear, and reveals what's always been there. You were never truly trapped, you were just asleep, and then comes the most uncomfortable moment of all, the fall of the idols. Because when the veil falls, it doesn't just dissolve invisible structures, it exposes faces, voices, figures once idolized, now laid bare in raw humanity. The age of false gurus, of inflated egos dressed as prophets, of spiritual masters selling salvation on subscription plans. It's crumbling before our very eyes, and it's not by accident. It's consequence. Hermes would say, what is built on lies is destined to collapse. And many of these modern idols weren't built on wisdom, but on marketing. Not on inner light, but on collective neediness. They sold formulas for the divine while hoarding human power. They forgot one simple truth. No one is greater than truth itself. These false masters don't just operate in the spiritual world. They're everywhere. In politics, in self-help, in entertainment, even in business. They're the ones who offer shortcuts, who say what you want to hear, who feed off fear, pain, and emotional dependence. But with the fall of the veil, there's no more stage where the disguise can stand. Because the audience has changed, the gaze has changed, the vibration has changed. What once hypnotized now irritates. What once enchanted now repels. And as painful as it may seem, it's a gift, a massive one, because it forces us to look inward, to stop outsourcing truth, to realize that a true teacher never asks you to follow them. They teach you how to walk, how to trust your own field, how to remember who you are, even when they're gone. But this fall isn't just about them, it's about us. It's the end of the idol cycle, the savior-guru era, the energetic codependence. No more building castles on the sand of someone else's promises, no more worshipping people who simply learned how to manipulate the right words. Hermes would tell you, the true master doesn't speak with superiority. He speaks with presence. And presence can't be bought, it can only be felt. The time for spiritual performance is over. Now is the time for raw truth, for silence, for real self-knowledge, to realize that the greatest secrets were never hidden in golden temples, but in the empty space you avoid when you're alone. If this message struck something inside you, comment below. I choose to be my own master. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to wake up before the next illusion installs itself. Because here, we don't follow idols, we awaken souls. And if this topic spoke to your soul, if this call echoed deep inside you, and you want to know more about what the veil really is, who created it, why it still exists, what the signs of its collapse are, what's coming next, who profits from illusion, why the false masters are falling, and how to prepare spiritually for this new cycle of truth, freedom, and presence, then comment, I want to see the next chapter, because we'll go deeper in the next videos. Remember, nothing, absolutely nothing, is what it seems.